Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really diving into a major literary figure.
Yes, right?
We've gathered sources on Han Kang, the 2024 Nobel laureate in literature,
Hmm.
and our goal here isn't just, a quick summary. We want to give you a real sense of her work. It's
Yeah.
intense, often quiet, but really essential.
Yeah,
So if you need that shortcut to understanding maybe the most globally talked about writer right now, well, this is for you.
and what a moment it was, that announcement. I think a lot of people were waiting for this one. The Nobel Committee, they really nailed it in their citation.
What did they say exactly?
They praised her for, and I'm quoting here, her intense poetic prose that confronts historical traumas and exposes the fragility of human life.
Intense poetic prose, that pairing poetry and trauma.
That's it. That's the core of it, really, that tension.
And for you listening, understanding that means digging into how she pulls together these deeply personal struggles with identity, but also sets them against this huge backdrop of national history, sometimes brutal history.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, her origins, because that context is just so important for her fiction.
It absolutely is. Her origins are key. She was born in Gwangju, South Korea, back in 1970.
Right.
And that timing is significant. It was a period of intense political tension, big social changes happening.
Yeah, you can feel that unrest simmering in some of her work.
Definitely. And, the fight for democracy wasn't abstract. It was happening right there in the streets. Plus, her father, Han Kang, he was already a novelist, quite well known.
Oh, interesting. So she grew up with it.
Exactly. So she had this connection to literature, to
Yeah.
Korean literary tradition right from the start.
So you got the environment, the family background, but she definitely carved her own path. She studied Korean lit at Yonsei University and actually started out publishing poetry in the early 90s. You can kind of see that lyrical, very precise style starting there.
That condensed quality, yeah.
Right. So the move to fiction later, it wasn't like she abandoned poetry. It feels more like she needed maybe a bigger container for the huge ethical questions she was asking.
That's a great way to put it. And that container, well, it blew up internationally with The Vegetarian.
Ah, yes, The Vegetarian. 2007 in Korea, right.
That's the one. It's a book that just hits you right away with how strange and compelling it is. It's about this woman, Young Hai, who has this incredibly violent, disturbing dream. And afterwards, she just completely stops eating meat.
And this is where, like you said, it gets really fascinating, because calling her just a vegetarian totally misses the point, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. The sources really stress this. It's not about a dietary choice. It's a profound rejection.
A rejection of what, though?
Oh, everything almost. Of the expectations placed on her, the patriarchal system, the sort of casual violence embedded in everyday life. Her refusal to eat meat is like this quiet, absolute no.
Wow. So it's a rebellion enacted literally on her own body.
Precisely. She's resisting through her physical self. And it gets more extreme. She starts to withdraw. She wants to become plant-like, a tree, essentially to shed her humanity.
To escape the system entirely.
It's this radical act of trying to reclaim some kind of autonomy, even if it means self-destruction. It's deeply surreal, but also disturbingly real in its psychology.
And that book just took off globally. The translation by Deborah Smith in 2015.
Yeah, that translation was key. It won the Man Booker International Prize in 2016.
Yeah.
That really put Han Kang and, frankly, South Korean literature on the map for a lot of English language readers.
Now, about that translation, it wasn't without discussion, right? I saw some sources mentioning debates around it.
That's true. It's interesting. Smith's translation is incredibly powerful, no doubt about it. It won the prize. But there was discussion, yeah. Some critics felt she might have taken certain liberties, maybe amplified certain aspects or smoothed out some of the original Korean nuances.
Which kind of highlights how delicate Han Kang's writing actually is.
Exactly. It shows you how much rests on every word choice, every pause. Her prose is so minimal, so precise, so much is implied. Translating it is this huge interpretive act. It underscores the challenge,
That makes sense. It sets us up perfectly, actually, to talk about her next major work, which shifts focus dramatically from that intense personal rebellion.
So collective historical trauma.
Right. Let's get into Human Acts.
Okay. Human Acts. So this one came out in 2014, and it is a direct, unflinching look at the Gwangju massacre in 1980.
Her birthplace.
Her birthplace. It's this foundational traumatic event in modern South Korean history. Pro-democracy demonstrators killed by state forces. It's brutal. But the novel isn't just a straightforward historical retelling.
No, it's the structure that's so striking.
No.
It's polyphonic, right? Multiple voices.
Exactly. That structure is the genius of it. It doesn't stick to one character or timeline. It moves through, I think it's 7 chapters, each with a different narrator, different perspective, jumping across time.
Who are some of these voices?
Well, the sources mention it shifts perspective dramatically. You hear from the spirit of a dead student, then the friend who found his body, then years later, someone working in censorship dealing with the records. It even shifts between first, second, and third-person narration.
Wow. That sounds disorienting, but intentionally so.
Completely intentional. It's like she's mirroring the fractured nature of trauma and memory itself. History isn't this neat, linear story. It's scattered, it echoes, it affects everyone differently across generations. The book is absolutely devastating, but also deeply compassionate. It forces you, the reader, to be a witness.
That sounds incredibly powerful. And then contrasting that raw collective pain, there's the White Book.
Ah, the White Book. Yeah, it's such a different experience. If human acts is this public outcry, the White Book feels like this intensely private, almost silent meditation.
How so? What's it like?
It's really unique. It's partly memoir, partly philosophical, I guess you call it fragments. Short pieces, very concise, all centered around the color white or white objects.
Like what kind of objects?
Things like salt, sugar cubes, rice cakes, snow, bones, a baby's swaddling clothes.
Very simple elemental things. But what's the story behind it? What's the emotional core?
The core is grief. It's revealed quietly that it's an elegy for her older sister who died just hours after she was born, before Han Kang herself was born.
Oh, wow.
So she uses white, its purity, its blankness, its association with death and mourning in Korean culture, as both a way into the grief and maybe a shield against it. The writing is incredibly controlled, minimalistic.
Almost like poetry again, in a way.
Very much so. Short sentences, simple language, but they carry immense weight. This is what sources point to as Han Kang's signature voice, that luminous, controlled quality. She understands the power of silence, of what's not explicitly stated. That negative space forces you to feel it more deeply.
So if we look at these threads running through her work, the body and the vegetarian, the shattered collective memory in human acts, the contained grief in the White Book, what's the big picture? What connects them?
I think the central metaphor, again and again, is the human body itself.
How do you mean?
Whether it's an individual body or the collective body of a community or nation, she often portrays it as a kind of battlefield.
A battlefield? Between what?
Between conformity and freedom, maybe. Or between violence, state violence, social pressure, and the possibility of tenderness or resistance. The body is where these huge forces collide. It's the site of suffering, but also potentially the site of rebellion, or reclaiming humanity.
So she's asking those fundamental questions, but grounding them in the physical. Like, how do we live in these bodies after trauma? How do we remain human?
Exactly. And not just for individuals, but for whole societies grappling with their past. How do you deal with collective guilt, find empathy, maybe even achieve some kind of rebirth? That's how her focus on Korean history becomes so universally resonant.
It really transcends the specific setting.
Absolutely. And that's her significance in Korean literature, too. She acts as this vital bridge, connecting traditional themes, maybe fate, historical suffering, with very modern existential questions about selfhood, agency, the strangeness of contemporary life. She takes the specific pain of Gwangju and transforms it into something that speaks to people everywhere about suffering and resilience.
Which loops us back to the Nobel Prize in 2024. It felt like more than just honoring one writer, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. It was seen as a major moment for South Korean literature, K-literature on the world stage. A real recognition of its growing power and influence.
What is it about K-literature that's resonating so much now?
Well, it often has this fascinating mix, right? Hypermodern settings, technology, capitalism, fused with this deep consciousness of historical trauma and social critique. It can be unsettling, intense, but also incredibly relatable globally. Han Kang embodies that. Choosing her felt like the Nobel Committee saying, look at this vital literary scene. Look at how it grapples with recent history in ways we all need to understand.
So, for someone listening now, maybe intrigued, wanting to experience this firsthand, where should they start? What do the sources suggest?
There seems to be a pretty clear pathway suggested. The consensus points toward starting with human acts.
Even though it's heavy.
Even though it's heavy, because it provides that crucial historical and emotional context that underlies so much of her other work. It's demanding, yes, but the impact is profound.
Okay, so start with the history and the collective trauma in human acts. Then where?
Then move to the vegetarian. That's where you get that signature blend of the surreal, the psychological, the bodily resistance. It's bizarre, beautiful hunting. It really sticks with you.
It sounds unforgettable. And after that,
Then, for a different mood, for experiencing her sheer artistry with language, pick up The White Book. It showcases that incredibly lyrical, meditative, yet powerful minimalism. It shows how much emotion can be conveyed in restraint.
The Human Acts, The Vegetarian, The White Book. Got it. It feels like Han Kang really shows us that literature isn't afraid to go into the dark places.
Exactly. It's not just observation, it's engagement. She suggests that facing that darkness, that trauma, is maybe the only way towards some kind of healing, or at least towards understanding our shared vulnerability.
A shared vulnerability. I like that.
Yeah. And her writing, it doesn't give you easy answers. It almost invites silence afterwards. Not an empty silence, but an active one.
What do you mean by active silence?
Like the kind of quiet where you're forced to listen to the echoes, the story, the history, maybe even echoes within yourself. And maybe finding that quiet space for reflection is itself a form of resistance in our incredibly noisy, often violent world. That's the challenge her work leaves you with, I think. How do you choose to listen?
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast. Your stories, your time.